Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Week 11, Thursday night football here. Got a good one between the Patriots and the Jets. Going to be in New England for this game. I've got the matchup data and the insights that you need to get your bets down for Thursday night. Going to have Nate coming on the show per usual, dropping a couple of his plays as always. And we are going to be using the Swishland model that is up on landyourbets.com, using that to sort of keep ourselves honest here with these player props we'll be looking at. But if that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's get right into things. Kicking it off with the Jets on offense here. They want to run the ball. They're dead last in passing yards. They're 26th in EPA. They're 7th in rushing yards, but they're 23rd in rush EPA. Why? Because they just want to run the ball even when they're losing because they can't pass the ball. Justin Fields is their quarterback. We'll talk about what that means exactly stats-wise here in just a second. And on the other side of the ball, like the Pats are not as good at all, nearly as good against the pass as they are against the run. Number one limiting rush yards, 7th in rush EPA, but it's kind of the opposite tail of the Jets for them, right? Like they are controlling the clock. The Pats are. They're winning a lot of games, so they're ahead in most of their games. Only 2 losses on the season, which is a big reason why teams are consistently passing on them, but they're still 15th in pass EPA. We don't expect the Jets to have a ton of success passing on this team, right? If you look at the tendencies for the Jets, they're 6th in rushing percentage, 27th in pass percentage. They don't pass, even when they're losing, right? Even when last week they were winning and they won against the Browns, which really helped them with a couple special teams touchdowns and whatnot. But you can see right here what Justin Fields did last week: 6 for 11, 54 passing yards. But we should be very clear here. 42 of those passing yards came on one play to Breece Hall, right? The screen pass that ended up going places. So it's not like Justin Fields did much. To be fair to him, there's not much going on in that wide receiver room. He will be getting Allen Lazard back in this game, so that's helpful. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like because the Pats are giving up that many yards that they're that bad against the pass. It's because teams are passing the ball at basically the 6th highest rate against this team, and they're not running the ball at all because you can't, because they're they're basically a top 5 rush defense, and that really has led to teams being forced to pass against them because there's no success against the run. Plus, like we said, they're a team that's winning most of their games, so teams are having to pass playing from behind. Looking on the other side of the ball here, we got the Jets on defense. They've been good limiting passing yards because teams don't have to pass against them. So it's just two opposite tails here, right? That just completely asymmetrical here, where the Jets' pass EPA on defense is still bad. They're just not giving up that many pass yards because teams aren't really passing on them because they don't have to. They're giving up a ton of rushing yards. They have a terrible rush EPA. They haven't had their D-line really healthy all season, so they haven't been able to set an edge. Everybody is getting out against them on the outside zone, still giving up plenty in the A-gaps and up the middle as well. But if you look at the Pats on offense, Drake May is that dude. I think it's pretty much time now to admit that this dude is the future of this team, and he's going to be around at the top of the league in a lot of these numbers for a while, probably. This is a top 5 passing offense and not as good of a rushing offense. It's just Rabel and company. They want to run the ball. We've known that for him, and he's going to stick to it for sure. The rushing yards, not as sexy as they should be. The rush EPA is fine, but it's all the passing stuff, right? Whenever they need to get out of a jam, Drake May is able to do that on 3rd down. Really nice completion percentage, and just basically his legs as well really help them in a tight spot, right? Like they have design runs for him, but at this point they're letting him throw from the pocket as much as he wants to, as much as they can get him in a clean pocket, and they've been able to do that. If you look at the run and pass ratio for the Pats, they're still, like I said, prioritizing the run. They're just better efficiency-wise and yard-wise with the pass here, the way that Drake May is playing so far in the season, and teams are happy to pass against to run against the Jets here. You can see 29th in rushing percentage against them, meaning they're giving up the 4th most rushing plays, like the 4th highest rushing percentage for the other team. And the opposite is true here, right? In terms of the teams passing against them, not very much in terms of passes going up against the Jets because you don't have to, right? You're winning, and so all is good there. So it would kind of lead us to think Travion Henderson. But you can see here I'm saying these prices are premium. Are you willing to pay it? If you think that this is going to be a complete blowout, there's no reason to think Travion's not going to get a ton of work rushing the ball against this Jets team, right? He is now totally in a bell cow workload because Ramondre Stevenson already out once again for this game, been out the last 2 weeks, and like Travion's been getting more snap share than when Ramondre was the RB1, right? And it's because the guy behind him at this point, it's going to be Jennings, is first of all questionable this week and is only coming in for like 4 or 5 plays to give Travion that sort of relief and to rush the ball, because they do not trust Jennings on these passing downs, and they've started to trust Travion a good amount. His receiving props are pretty decent as well, to be honest, because he's been so involved on all of these downs. 80% last week, and that's only continued to rise for him. Like we said, Ramondre was only seeing like 60% when he was splitting time with Henderson here and Gibson at time as well before he went down for the season. So I think it's just Trayvon's backfield in a game that they should win by a ton. And last week, right, 147 yards that he's coming off of. This script sets up nicely once again. No reason that he's at full health. So there's really no reason to think that he's not going to continue to have a great game. Probably going to be looking at some 100 plus yards for him, but the rushing attempts are up at like 17 and a half, 16 and a half in some places. I think that's a really safe way to bet him. Novig is still the sportsbook exchange of the month on LandYourBets.com. And if you do sign up for Novig right now, use code LYB and you'll get all of the bonus bets here. $5, get $50 in bonus bets when you do sign up and use that code. And it's a sportsbook exchange, to be clear. So you bet against other people, peer-to-peer, not against the traditional sportsbooks, which is awesome. And if you do sign up, happy to get you up on the website there where you can see the projections and all the bets that Nate and myself are putting down. Use code LYB to sign up for Novig and then just email us support@LandYourBets.com. Happy to get you some access to the website there for a free month. When it comes to the wide receivers, these are the two dudes who are getting all of the time, right, for this squad here. And the Pats are playing with two tight ends a decent amount, 50-50 really. But most importantly for the wide receivers here, these two dudes are on the field almost the whole time. And it's actually Mac Hollins last week. These are last week's stats for them against the Bucs. 90% snap for Mac, 80% of the routes, and 10 targets. That led the team. And then Diggs was second with all these numbers right here. But the key here for Diggs and for anybody not Diggs or not Mac Hollins is like Kyle Williams was out there for like 34%. I think we had Demario Douglas out there for like 21%. So it's not really equal in any way. It's these two guys playing in these two wide receiver sets a lot. And if you think they're going to be playing some more jumbo packages to at least either fake the run or actually run it a ton, then these are the two dudes that are most likely to at least be on the field, especially Mac Hollins, who clearly they like to help in the run game as a blocking wide receiver. But the 10 targets and the 80% route tells you he was wide receiver one last week for this team. I just want to bring up one thing, though, with Demario Douglas, because when you look at the coverages and you take things into consideration, you've always got to consider this is not last week. What happened last week in the NFL is not as relevant always to this week. As we say, last week's price is not today's price. For Demario Douglas, the price might be worth it. With a slightly depressed prop number here, and the receptions might be good for him as the short target guy in a situation against man where he has been known to do really well, right? Now, last week, he's coming off 22% of the snap share, only 10 routes that he ran, 2 targets, nothing sexy. But he does have the best numbers versus man, right? And the Jets do run the 7th most man coverage. So that would lead you to go, all right, well, if this dude seems to be the best at getting separation against man, then at the very least, we should at least give him a mention here that if his props are like 2.5 receptions or say in less than 30 yards, right, we're like at 18, 20 yards in that range for Douglas, then I do like an over for him, despite the fact that we expect the Jets to be leading for most of this game. Gonna bring Nate on in just a second here. Got a couple more looks from the Jets. I mean, Breece Hall is just doing everything, man, right? What we saw last week, what he did, I think that's just going to continue. Like we said at the top of the episode, it's tough to run on the Pats, but the Jets are certainly going to try, even in a negative game script. They're going to keep Breece involved. Like his snap share has only continued to rise. Isaiah Davis is really not getting much time at this point. He's the only other running back who's even really on the roster doing anything, but it's still not even close to where Breece is at, up to 80% snap. I do think with Wilson out once again, his receptions are really, really good. Once again, I don't know if Tyrod Taylor is going to come into the game or not, or if it's just going to be Justin Fields the whole time. We have no indication yet that Tyrod is coming in. It's just mostly people on like Twitter and Jets fans that are probably calling for anybody but Justin Fields to be out there. Either way, if it's Tyrod, I do love receptions and receiving for Breece. I think you just put them both together because it's not that scary of a number. And you consider he's at 17.5 rush attempts in a game that they're double-digit dogs, right, on the road. Tells you what the Jets will do in a negative or neutral game script is they're still going to be running the ball consistently. So he's going to be involved a ton. And the receiving are probably a good look as well, just because this team can't do anything if he's not getting, yards after catch off of screens. And I want to bring up Isaiah Williams to at least just mention that like this dude went from just not involved, not on the field, to 40% snaps, couple targets last week, has had a big game 2 weeks ago, right? The 72 yards that he has. And look, Josh Reynolds is out for the season. Allen Lazard is probably, I think he's coming back this week. It's been official at this point. So you want to be careful with Jets passing in general, but this dude's at like 11.5 yards. So if Justin Fields can do even just like raise his bar to 100 yards passing, like where are those going to go, right? Maybe some of to the Taylor, to the tight end, But as far as wide receivers go, it's like this dude and Lazard. So I think 11.5 yards for the wide receiver 2 is a little bit unreasonable, and we should expect him to get 15 yards. I know it's the Jets, but let's see what Nate has to say with some of the props that he's looking at. All right, Nate is here looking at a couple tight end plays in this potentially ugly game here on Thursday Night Football. But we're going to start off with Hunter Henry, talking about the Pats and how much Drake May does seem to like this man.
Yeah, I mean, way to couch that this being quite as dreadful as last Thursday night game. Yeah, there's some potential for some excitement here. No, I can't. I got to take that again.
You tried.
Then I thought about the Jets side of the ball, and I was like, ugh. We're talking about Patriots here. We're talking about Hunter Henry, who is he's basically due. I mean, he was second in routes and in target share last week. He caught one ball for 9 yards, so everybody's going to be off him. We get a good number. Get a pretty juicy number on the touchdown, up to plus 160 at some places if you want to sprinkle there. I mean, for what it's worth, all 4 of his touchdowns come at home this year. But I mean, this is more about the yards in terms of being a reliable play. He's second among all tight ends in unrealized air yards and in deep target share. So May, who likes to push the ball downfield, who's missing his primary deep shot in booty, his primary booty call, if you will, is going to be looking for Hunter at some point down the field. Austin Hooper, we know, is not going to play. There's tons of other Patriots that are questionable, but in the concussion protocol here with a Thursday game, no Hooper. So it's going to be a very reliable role here for Henry as the only receiving tight end. He's averaged 45 a game in 11 Drake May starts, and he's just been a little down lately. But there's nothing scary about this matchup, of course, with the Jets.
Yeah, and I mean, when we look at the touchdown for Henry too, it's priced in a way that kind of indicates he's going to be utilized, especially like potentially near the red zone, near the goal line. Also, just a nice deep target for a tight end. Always love to be able to find that when you see a guy who's running a little bit deeper down the field, and he's going to be in the seams and what have you. Like, don't expect too much of a negative game script, but like this is a good guy to target because, like you said, everything's just really depressed and deflated based on an outcome last week that. We kind of look for this. This is what we target, is like where was the volume and the unrealized execution with the volume, because then we're going to get better value on the number the next week, and then we can come back to it. And it's obviously a good matchup when you're talking about this Jets team. But let's at least talk about a Jet here. Mason Taylor, briefly bright spots randomly here on the season for the Jets, where it's like, hey, I think we have something here. We don't have anything around him, so it's hard to like make him look good consistently. But that keeps his line from going up to the 50s, where like guys like Tucker Kraft were for tight end. Like we still have 32 yards, another low 30s number here for a really good receiving tight end.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have anything around them, which is kind of the key for volume, right? I mean, Garrett Wilson tried to go last week. Now he's going to be out. So, I mean, Mason Taylor winds up running 79% of the routes, which is more than any wide receiver for the Jets. Their wide receiver room is just a complete revolving door of who knows if they're going to do anything. But, I mean, you like this idea in a negative script as far as him coming back in the second half. That is when he's usually hit. And you like the idea also that if Justin Fields starts, like, you're going to be terrified of taking any of his receivers, right? But he's going to start with a quick hook. That seems to be the indication, is like Tyrod Taylor's ready to go. Aaron Glenn might even try to throw them off the scent by being like, look, it's going to be Fields, and then just be ready to like mix in packages. Like, it is a complete opaque situation as far as what they're going to do at quarterback. But if Fields struggles like he has horribly in 3 of his last 4 games, we're going to see Tyrod, and that's going to lead to more accurate connections here from Taylor to Taylor. The Pats are so good on the boundary that usually these interior tight ends, these move tight ends or slot receivers do get the volume. I mean, you look at the last couple of weeks, Harold Fannin, 6 of 8 for 62 yards, went with no Browns receiver doing anything, like literally 10 yards. Cade Otton had 9 of 12 last week, of course. So, I mean, tight ends have, in fact, in 4 straight have eclipsed this number against the Pats. So I think Taylor, who's kind of a combo slot receiver / tight end, is that new age tight end who's purely in there to receive. And the Jets are going to need to get something going through the air. It was just absolute luck box that they had a positive game script last week, right? And nobody's expecting that here. So they're going to be in trail mode. And they're going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah. Just adding to some stuff I was talking about earlier, like the teams run on the Patriots Not very much. Fourth fewest attempts against them. 37% is the run play percentage for teams going up against this team. The Jets are going to eclipse that because they can't pass, and they're going to run 20 to 25 times with Breece Hall. So that's fine. But when they go to the air, right, like this is the guy that you would feel most comfortable with, especially once Tyrod. I got to imagine he's out there for some semblance of this game. They're going to need to be passing. Like that's just how we see it. I've been waiting for the Pats fall off. Thought it might have been last week. Some sharps tried to call it last week as like, well, look who the Bucs have played. Look who the Pats have played. And they just keep just overcoming that, superseding it. Same concept when they played the Browns. Kind of like, oh, maybe the Pats are going to have a down game. Browns been playing tough comp. Doesn't matter, man. And coming into this one, like I don't see how you have a letdown in a division game here. So I do think that they're going to be throwing. They're going to be throwing from the third quarter on. And Mason Taylor, a couple receptions here. I think 4 for like 40 is a pretty nice number for a guy based on the volume that I'll see from him in this one. So appreciate the time as always, Nate. Make sure you do check out Nate's opening lines looks. Got some look at the early lines and some player prop projections for you guys. So till we see you next, Nate. Happy betting. All right, y'all, appreciate the time. Definitely check out Nate's closing lines that he's going to have up for this weekend. I'll also be up for the Sunday games with some player props. As you know, had a really nice week last week, so looking to keep it going. And we're doing NBA every single day, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't miss out. And until we see you next, happy betting.